I used to work at a Halloween candy factory in Illinois until this happened to me. 3 years ago, when I was 20, I was making Halloween candy, mostly packaging for big companies and generic lollipops and hard candies. I was the packaging maker, but not many people worked there. So when someone didn't show up to work, I had to help in the candy making area. I had to do that a lot because Jenny usually didn't show up. The only reason they didn't fire her was because no one wanted to work there. So I had to work more than just my job, and this was one of those days. I walked over to the factory area of the building and started adding the ingredients to the mixer. My manager came walking in. He said my shift was over. I was kind of confused because my shift ended at 6, and it was only 3:30. But I just said okay and left. I asked if I was done working at packaging too. He nodded. I shrugged and left. I was curious, so I checked the security cameras to see if I had done something wrong. No, I didn't do anything wrong, but I knew why he said I could leave. There was a man wandering around the factory. I could tell he was not supposed to be there. He looked crazy. He didn't look like anybody that was supposed to be working there. I quickly left. When I got back to my house, I called and told my mom. She seemed very concerned and told me to call in sick the next day. Didn't listen. I knew I was still going to work the next day. After my mom hung up, I decided to call Jenny to see if she would be in the next day. I didn't tell her about the guy wandering the factory. She said, yeah, maybe. I told her I needed help and that she really should come in the next day. She agreed and said she'd come in. I thanked her and hung up. I was still creeped out about who was there, but I brushed it off and told myself everything was fine. I went to the store to buy some groceries. When I came back, I called my manager to see if he knew who that man was. He said there was no one else at the factory and no one had broken in. I knew he was lying, that's why he told me to leave. He didn't want to deal with whoever was there. I was annoyed that he said everything was fine. Then my sister called and told me she just heard on the news that a man had escaped prison and was breaking into places, and they hadn't caught him yet. I told her what happened at the factory. She said that was probably him. Thanks for being very positive, I said sarcastically. She laughed and said, it's true though. Then we both laughed. After we hung up, I made myself dinner, a sandwich and chips. After eating, I went to sleep. The next day on my way to work, I noticed a red truck following me. I still pulled into the factory parking lot. I got out of my car and ran inside. I saw Jenny standing in front of one of the machines. I ran past her toward the elevator. She asked me where I was going, but I ignored her and ran inside the elevator. I clicked the 4th floor button as fast as I could. As soon as the elevator arrived, I ran into my desk room. After about 10 minutes, I heard footsteps in front of my office door. Then I heard the door handle turn. I jumped, and I messed up, printing the Snickers packaging wrong. Then Jenny came walking in. She asked me why I ran when I came in. I turned my head to look at her. She seemed confused. I didn't think first. I just told her what had happened that morning and the day before. I could tell she didn't believe me. She thought I was lying just to get out of working. She then asked why I told her to come in that day. I didn't have a good answer. So I told her the truth. I didn't want to be alone in the building after what happened, especially since my manager wasn't going to be there that day. She started to look scared. I could tell she was starting to believe me. She said she didn't want to work on the 1st floor alone because that S where I saw the man wandering. I laughed. She didn't. I knew she was going to leave, so I told her I was joking, and that's why I told her to come in. She seemed really annoyed and sighed as she left. I could tell she was angry because she slammed the door instead of shutting it normally. I went back to working. Out of curiosity, I checked the security cameras again. I didn't see anything strange, so I went back to my computer. About an hour later, I heard a weird noise from 1 floor below me. I was confused because no one was working on that floor that day. I decided to check the cameras one more time. I saw a man walking around. The only people who were supposed to be there were me and Jenny. I didn't know what to do. I told myself maybe someone else was working, but after I sat down, I heard a scream from the 1st floor where Jenny was. I raced to the elevator. Once on the 1st floor, I ran to Jenny and asked what happened. She said there was a man who wasn't supposed to be there. I asked what he looked like. She described him. It was the same man I'd seen before. She asked if we should leave. I told her I wouldn't. Then she asked if I'd walk her to her car. I shook my head. She looked terrified. We heard loud footsteps running up behind us. I didn't look back. I ran toward the elevator, Jenny following me. We got in, and I clicked the 4th floor button as fast as I could. The man ran toward the elevator, but the doors closed half a second before he could get in. Jenny and I were trembling. When the doors opened, we ran down the hall until we reached the last door. I tried to open it, but it was locked. After trying several handles, I found one unlocked door. I went inside but realized there wasn't much to hide behind, so I went to my office. Jenny came running in behind me. I slammed the door and locked it. My office was big. It had a small bathroom, microwave, mini fridge, a table with chairs, and a water dispenser. I closed the blinds and shut off the light so it didn't look like anyone was in there. I checked my phone. It was only 4 o'clock. My shift ended at 6. I didn't want to stay 2 more hours. Jenny hid in the bathroom while I hid in the cabinet under the microwave. I heard loud footsteps outside the door. Then the handle started shaking. Someone was trying to open it forcefully. When they realized it was locked, they started banging on it, trying to break it down. Finally, after what felt like forever, they gave up and walked away. I crawled out of the cabinet and tiptoed to the bathroom. Jenny whispered, "When they're gone, can you walk me out to my car, Tyler?" I nodded. "As soon as it hits 6 o'clock, I whispered. She frowned. Then I heard footsteps again. I ran back and hid. Time dragged on. It felt like days, but it was only 4:30. The banging started again. The door sounded like it was about to break. I clutched my phone, ready to call the police, but they stopped. They didn't leave, though. They were still standing there. Finally, at 5:15, I heard them walk away. Jenny whispered my name. "Tyler, where are you?" "I'm in here," I whispered back. She came over and said, "I heard the elevator. They're on a different floor." She started walking toward the door. I pulled her back and told her that was a horrible idea. She went back to hiding. I decided to sit at my computer and start working since I was stuck there anyway. Jenny looked at me like I was crazy. "Why are you working when someone insane is wandering the building?" she asked. I kind of laughed. It's not going to hurt anyone, and me doing my job. She rolled her eyes, opened the blinds, and sat down at the table. I set a quiet alarm for 6. Jenny grabbed her lunch bag and started eating. I got water and did the same. When my alarm went off, I told Jenny. "Finally," she said with relief. We both took a deep breath and walked out into the hall. It was dark, no windows except in the offices. I turned on my phone flashlight. Jenny screamed and jumped backward. "What is it?" I asked, heart racing. "I thought something grabbed my leg," she stuttered. "Well, if someone was still here, they know where we are now," I said. She looked embarrassed. In the elevator, I was ready for a fight, but we didn't see anyone. I grabbed Jenny's hand and we ran out the door. She got in her car and sped off, almost running me over. I got into my car and noticed another vehicle, one that shouldn't be there. We were the only ones working that day. It was the same person. I sped back home. The next few days, no one strange showed up. But 2 days before Halloween at 1:14, I heard Jenny scream. I knew what it was. That man was back. I checked the security cameras. Sure enough, he was there in the room next to Jenny. I ran to warn her, but she already knew. She bolted for her car and sped off. It was nowhere near the end of her shift. I went back upstairs, locked my office door, and tried to focus on work. Around 3, I checked the cameras again. He was still there. Called my manager. He told me to call the police. The police came, but by then the man was gone. My manager told me to put locks on the doors. I was furious that he didn't care, but I did it anyway. Later, I heard a window shatter. I knew it was because the doors were locked. Luckily, my shift was almost over. When I checked the cameras again, he was still there, but on a floor I didn't need to go to. I ran out as soon as I could. When I got to my car, it wouldn't move. The tires were slashed. I called my mom to pick me up. The next day, I begged Jenny to come in. She finally agreed. My mom drove me to work since my tires were still being fixed. Again, someone broke in that day. Like usual, Jenny and I hid until our shift ended. When I left, I noticed I was being followed by the same gray truck I'd seen in the factory parking lot. I drove back into town to see if they were still following me. They were. I sped up, hoping to lose them. When I finally thought I'd lost them, I went home. Too lazy to make dinner, I ordered Uber Eats. The pasta wasn't very good, but I ate it anyway. Lying in bed, I heard my door open. I'd forgotten to lock it. I ran and hid in the bathroom and called the police. It took them 15 minutes to arrive. When I heard them come in, I ran out. One officer shouted, "I got him!" and another stood there with a man in handcuffs. Sure enough, it was the same man who had broken into the factory. They arrested him for trespassing, breaking in, and other charges. I still wasn't going back to that factory ever again. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell if you would enjoy hearing more spine-chilling stories. A new one will be released every Saturday. If you would like me to read one of yours, you can send it to me bitefear@gmail.com.